Good morning, good afternoon. Sava here from Football Heritage TV, joined by Stewie. As always, he likes joining in, and we'll let him. His favourite subject, Tottenham Hotspur footballers. So, today, we're going to continue our trends. Over the last few days, I've picked a Spurs player, created a discussion about them. I just want to say, before we talk about Christian Romero, who is today's player, Cootie, I want to say this. When you watch this, when you read the responses to this, please note that I'm not singling out any player. I'm doing a video about every player. So when people respond with things like, oh, why are you blaming Kulusevski for the season? I'm not. I'm singling out the players and having a discussion about them. So without further ado, Christian Romero. Just how good is Christian Romero? Now, there's been many debates that I've been a part of and I've seen online, and I've spoken to football fans from different clubs about this over the last few months. And I am of the opinion that this guy is the most overrated defender in the Premier League. For me, he's one of those one in the group of players at Spurs that always gets let off for bad performances. Every time certain players like Romero have a bad game, make a mistake, we blame everybody else around them but them. And I'm bored of it. I don't see the hoo-ha about him. I don't see the fuss. I think he's okay. I think he's an okay defender, but in terms of defenders I've seen at the Lane throughout my 40 years of being a Spurs fan, he's nowhere near the list of players that I would put in there as top centre-halves. Nowhere near it. And I see people saying, this is the best centre-half we've had in the Premier League era. Baffling. He's better than Jan and Toby. Mind blown. Baffled again. You know, he's the best Premier League in the best centre-back in the Premier League. Why? What's he done to deserve this and get this praise? I don't understand. I'm watching a defender that week in, week out is making mistakes. Week in, week out is rash. Week in, week out goes to ground as though he's in the playground. And what's worse is I see fans that go, I love that passion from Romero. But let's take a step back from passion. The ability to defend isn't diving in. Speak to any top centre-half. Speak to any defensive coach. Top defenders do not dive in. It is a last resort. This man dives in like his life depends on it. And I get it. Fans want that passion. Fans want to see a guy that's giving his all and he's a hero. But I want to see a centre-half that stays on his feet. I want to see a centre-half that has the brain capacity to realise that if I go diving in, I'm going to give away a yellow card or I'm out of position and the attacking team can score a goal. But apparently, I'm harsh on him. I hear this a lot. You don't like him. Never said that. I like him. He's okay. You want him sold. Never said that. Don't want him sold. I would keep him. But for me, I think there's much better centre-halves out there. Much better centre-halves. Players that won't get anywhere near as much credit as Romero. But for some reason, if you start talking about a Spurs player that's in the clique, you're a hater and you're negative. I just want to go back to seeing proper defenders that can defend. Now, look, what's his strengths? He's good on the ball. He brings it out well. He's got a good pass. He can come into midfield, carry the ball. Great. What's his weaknesses? Well, he's poor in the air. He's very rash. And a lot of the time, he's out of position. If you watch it, because he's so rash, because he goes diving in, he's out of a position. A lot of the times, crosses are coming in or teams get in behind us. Now, I'm not using any of this to excuse how bad players like Dyer, Davinson Sanchez, Tanganga, Longley, I'm not excusing how bad they are. But if they did the things that he's been doing all year, by the way, they would get absolutely crucified. And they do get absolutely crucified. But when Romero does these things, it's, oh yeah, but he has to play with Dyer. Okay, cool. Does Dyer and Longley make him go rushing out 10, 15 yards outside the box to clatter people in the air? No. Do they make him dive in on the edge of the box? No, he does that. And again, because I know what people will come back with, I've been doing YouTube long enough to know with what the comments will come back with. And any that come back like that, I will highlight and I'll show you on my next video. But what I will get now is, yeah, but he's the best of a bad bunch. Sure. Okay, best of a bad bunch, yeah. Doesn't make him great. Now let's look at, oh, but he won Serie A Defender of the Year. Okay, he won Serie A Defender of the Year. But that's in the Serie A. That's not playing for Tottenham Hotspur. Doesn't mean anything to me. If a player scores 50 goals, a striker scores 50 goals at his old club and then comes to Spurs and doesn't score goals, why do I care what he did at his last club? Baffling. I've got a lot of my mates that are religiously watching Serie A. I watch it quite a lot, but they watch it religiously. All said to me, look, Romero's good, but he is rash. He is a player that thinks that doesn't think up there. He doesn't think. He just goes with his heart. And pros and cons to going with your heart, right? For me, I like an intelligent defender that scans the pitch, right? Where do I need to be? Is it worth me rushing out and tackling? If I tackle, do I just go to ground? So that's the first thing that's thrown at is Serie A Defender of the Year. The second thing that's thrown, and this is the most frustrating thing in the world, it's very lazy analysis, it's very lazy football debating, is he's a World Cup winner. Right? So what? So is Kleberson, who played for Man United. Anyone remember him? United fans hated him. People laughed at him. He played centre mid for the quarters, the semis and the finals of the 2002 World Cup when they won it. Stefan Gavage, he won the World Cup playing up front for France. Otamendi's won the World Cup playing for Argentina. Right? Juan Foyth has won a World Cup. Per Mertesacker won a World Cup. Mustafi's won a World Cup. Players like Jimmy Traore and Steve Finham won Champions Leagues. So does it automatically mean that these players are world class and they're great because they've played in teams that have won things? No. They may have been a good, important cog in the wheel, but were they the main cog? Did Argentina win a World Cup because of Christian Romero? Or did they win it because Lionel Messi decided to show the world that he was the greatest ever and dragged them to the final and won them the final? Does it mean that every Argentina player that just won the World Cup, that they're all class as well? Tagliafico, Montiel, these players, good players. No better than that, no worse than that. And I put Romero on par of that. Does it mean that the Aston Villa goalkeeper, Martinez, does it mean that Emi Martinez is the best goalkeeper in the world or a world-class goalkeeper because he won the World Cup? I don't think so. Good keeper, no more, no less. So these arguments for him really do start to grind me. Now, listen, for me, I think he could be a good defender. I do. But I really wish Spurs fans would stop trying to squeeze him into top 5 debates of top 5 centre-backs in the Premier League. And he's better than Saliba and he's better than Van Dijk now. And blah, he's not. And the harsh reality is fans don't like to hear that about their own players. And I've always had the ability to take my Spurs hat off and look objectively. I like to think I do anyway. And maybe I am critical of Spurs players, but we big them up to the point where there's no return. We've put him, Bentancur, Kulusevski, Son, Kane. I'll leave Kane alone, but Son, Kane, Perisic, all these players on this massive pedestal. Højbjerg goes on a pedestal. Basuma goes on a pedestal. But then when we lose games and when we're terrible at playing football, it's, oh, but, you know, they're all playing with bad players. So are they all bad players? I just don't get it. So look, for me, I like Romero. Romero for me is a 6.57 out of 10 centre-back at the moment. Can he get better? Of course, people can get better. But he's got to remove that rash nature. And when people say, no, you've got to leave that in his game, why? All that does is give away free kicks and gets him yellow cards and red cards. Gives away penalties as well. Why would you want to keep that in? He needs to work with a proper defensive coach because, according to everybody at Juve, at Atlanta, at Spurs, apparently he's never had a coach that's been able to coach him properly. Or is this just his natural game? So listen, I don't hate Romero. Please, before people go, oh, I've got an agenda. I haven't. I did a video on Kulu yesterday. I did a video today on Romero. Tomorrow will be another Spurs player. But it's time we're honest about these players. We are where we are because of players. So, Romero, for me, he's not young anymore. He's a 25-year-old centre-half. For me, he should be nearing his peak in the next 18 months. And what I'm seeing at the moment, his peak doesn't look great. So, yes, we're going to get better defenders around him, hopefully. Hopefully that will show him in a better light. Hopefully that stops him being rash. But I do have my reservations. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please keep them objective when we put these videos out. And some of the comments that come back, there's so much hate and rudeness. Just debate the point. That's all we ask as YouTubers. So please like, please subscribe. I'll be back at 5 o'clock today with Dan Potts from Football's 12th Man podcast, talking about the North London divide, Spurs and Arsenal, what they're going to do this summer. And then at 6 o'clock, I'll be on with Spurs Talk Show on Henry Wright TV's channel. So Sean, Henry and I on Henry's channel discussing Tottenham Hotspur, all the things Tottenham. Thanks, everyone. Please like, please subscribe. Been a pleasure. Take care.